All right, here we are going to do a quick video on the 3 problems we have coming up for our quiz, the chain rule quiz. So here we go. Let's look at the first problem here. We have used the outside-inside chain rule to find the derivative. So there's a couple different ways we could use the chain rule, and that was one with U substitution and one with just the power rule, multiplying by the outside and then the inside. So if we have y equals the quantity 2x squared plus 3x all to the 4th power, we can simply bring this 4 down and we keep the inside the same, the 2x squared plus 3x, we keep the inside the same, reduce the power from 4 to 3, and then multiply that by the derivative of the inside. So the derivative of 2x squared is 4x, plus the derivative of 3x is just 3. So again, this is the outside portion right here, and this is the inside portion, the derivative of the inside. So our final result will be y prime is equal to 2x squared plus 3x to the quantity of 3 raised to the 3 power, and then multiplied by 16x plus 12, because these are all multiples, so I can distribute that 4 into this set here. Okay, number 2 says, use the product rule and U substitution. You can see that okay. Use product rule and U substitution to find the derivative. Here we have 2x squared times the quantity, the square root of x cubed plus 4. All right, so we label the outside f and the inside g. This is a composite function, so we're going to want to use the chain rule with this as well as U substitution to make our life a little simpler. All right, so if you recall, here's the product rule. F of x times g prime of x plus g of x times f prime of x. And when we do that, you get 2x squared. You bring that down. That's your f of x. And then g prime of x, well, that's this whole business here. And I guess I need a set of parentheses right there. That's all g of x. So we'll get to that in a second. Then there's g prime of x, excuse me. Then there's g of x. That's just the square root of x cubed plus 4. Now I took it to the 1/2 power, and we're going to want to keep these in exponential powers because we're going to want to factor some things out and make some sense of it rather than just have roots, square root symbols everywhere. Then times f prime of x, well, 2x squared, the derivative of that is just 4x. Okay, so now let's go back and see how we got this business. Well, for this, we need to use the U substitution. So if we let u equal the inside piece right here, I'm going to let u equal that inside, so x cubed plus 4. Then du is 3x squared, and du dx is 3x squared as well. All right. Then we call it g because it's the g function. So we went g is equal to, now everything is in terms of u. Instead of having it to the 1/2 or all this underneath, we'll just call it u because that's what we said u was. U to the 1/2. So dg is equal to 1/2 u. We subtract 1 from the power there. So we minus, if you recall, we subtract 1. And that means we get negative 1/2. You guys should know this almost by heart by now. And so we get dg du is equal to 1/2 u to the negative 1/2 power. That means that then what we do is we multiply these two pieces here, and so our final g prime of x is 1/2 u to the negative 1/2 times 3x squared. All right, so we got to put that all back in here. That's your 1/2 times u to the negative 1/2 times 3x squared. So it all fit nicely there. All I did was rewrite the u back in. All right, so let's take a look at what we can do now. Well, some things cancel right away that we can notice. So this 2 and that 2 will go away. And what we can do is we can factor out an x. There's a x squared here and an x squared there. Now I know that will combine to x to the 4th, but if you look over here, we have an x, and since this plus sign is separating them, I can factor out that x. So that's where I put that x there. And then what I decided to do was factor out this x cubed plus 4 to the negative 1/2. And when you do that, this will go to 1, right? So then, cleaning up this inside piece, we have 3x. Well, this is squared still, and this gets reduced to 1 because we factored 1 out. We factored that x out of it. And then we're left with 3x cubed because that turns into a 1. Okay, so we can replace that with a 1. Over here, x cubed plus 4, it turns to the 1/2. When we divide by x cubed plus 4 to the negative 1/2, remember the rules of exponents say that I must take 1/2 minus the denominator. That's a negative 1/2, so that actually turns into 1. I challenge you to pause the video and just see what that's like. And then you can combine like terms. We'll distribute the 4, get 4x cubed plus 16 here. X cubed plus 4 to the 1/2. So after we factor and add like terms, your final answer is x times 7x cubed plus 16, all divided by x cubed plus 4 to the 1/2 power. Okay, last one. Hopefully I don't run out of time. We have, or you can see it. Okay, I'm going to turn it like that. All right, so we have x to the 5th. Use the quotient rule in U substitution to find the derivative. X to the 5th divided by x cubed minus 1 all up to the square root. So, again, quotient rule, g of x times f prime of x minus the quantity of f of x times g prime of x divided by gx squared. All right, let's plug some things in. X cubed minus 1 to the 1/2, that's just regular g of x, times f prime of x, well, that's going to be 5x to the 4th, minus f of x, that's just x to the 5th. Now we got to do is we got to do U substitution. So, turn this a little bit here. Okay, so we get U substitution. U equals x cubed minus 1. du is 3x squared. So we get 3x squared. G is u to the 1/2. 1/2 u to the negative 1 is the derivative. We've seen this many times. 1/2 u to the negative 1/2. We multiply these two things. We put all that right here. 1/2 times x cubed minus 1 to the negative 1/2 times 3x squared all over x cubed minus 1 to the 1/2 squared. All right. Now, if we do that, then you will get, I'm going to have to, I apologize, I'm going to have to move this. It looks crazy terrible, I know. Don't go away. Don't go away. It's crooked, I know. It's the edge of the earth. All right. We're leaning. We're all leaning right now. It's awesome. I don't know what else to do about that. Sorry. Okay. So then we're going to factor out x cubed minus 1 to the negative 1/2. We get left 5x to the 4th times x cubed minus 1 minus 3/2 x7. 3/2 x7. Well, that's because this 3 was multiplied by 1/2. So we had to put 3/2 x to the 7th power all over x cubed minus 1. Well, that's because this square took care of that 1/2. Hold on. Don't go away. Those of you watching at home, this is awesome. Okay. All right. Much better. All right. Now. Okay, so here we are. And that leaves 5x to the 7th minus 5x to the 4th minus 3/2 x to the 7th all over x cubed minus 1 to the 3/2 because I brought that 1/2 down. multiply top and bottom by 2. I want to get rid of that denominator. That gives me 2 times 5 is 10, x to the 7th. 2 times 5, x to the 4th. 2 times 3 halves gets rid of the 2. I get 3x to the 7th. Denominator, I pick up a 2 there because I'm multiplying the denominator by 2 as well. Our final answer, x to the 4th times 7x cubed minus 10, all divided by 2 times the quantity x cubed minus 1 to the 3 halves. And yes, that is it. I know you moved around. It was crazy. It's like 10 minutes of madness, but I swear, if you pause the video, go back through it, check it out, it's going to be great. And there's your answer one more time. Okay. Thank you and have a great day.